If I knew that, I would put a bow tie.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shay with Amos. I'm your host, Jacob Gorky, and this is the first episode of this podcast. This is a project we've been wanting to do for a little while, so we're finally able to do it. So before I get started, though, I probably should preface what this podcast is about, what it's dedicated for. And this is a podcast designed to document the experiences of Egyptian immigrants from the 60s till now. And joining me today is someone who was here, before the 60s. Dr. Atef Moawad, how are you doing today?
Fine, thank you. Very nice, Jacob.
Thank you. So, when did you come? 1959?
I came in 1959, in June 1959.
June 1959.
And it was during the presidency of Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Oh, that's beautiful. And now we're in Chicago, so we're going to be talking about majority of the Chicagoland area, but you didn't come directly to Chicago, though.
I came to Elizabeth, New Jersey. Of course, I landed by ship.
Really?
In New York.
Wow.
And the future first priest for North America was the person who was still a layman that waited for me in the airport.
Really? Wow. So did you go through
Not in the airport. I mean in the port. Yeah.
Did you go through like Ellis Island then and all that?
No, Ellis Island actually was stopped to have the immigrants in it some 10, 15 years before.
Oh, okay.
So I came straight to the New York harbor.
Oh, wow. Okay. So then, after that, so you land in New Jersey, or you land in New York Harbor, you go to St. Elizabeth in New Jersey, and you're there for...
I went there for my internship because I was a physician, and physicians at a time has to take their internship and then apply for residency.
I see.
And I went for my residency in Philadelphia to Jefferson University, and that was 4 years. And then after that, I did fellowships in Cleveland and more research and higher studies in Sweden and in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And
Wow.
then I ended up in Chicago.
Yeah. So then you come to Chicago. So you came to Chicago, what, like
In January 1972.
1972. And this is, I mean, there was nothing here at all here.
No, there was.
There was. Oh.
There was close to 30 people, some of them married, many were not married, and they were sort of somewhat organized in order to have a church. So they actually registered with the state of Illinois in 1969. And that's why before I came to Chicago, there were already some organization. But they didn't have a priest, they didn't have a church or a building or anything. But you must know a little more about the history of the church before that.
Yeah. So what was it like before that?
Well, what happened is that in 1959, when I came with a couple of my friends also, there was few people that left Egypt because they didn't like the dictatorial rule of Nasser. And essentially they wanted a better life, free life in the United States. Many of these were academics, very highly educated, professors, economists, and we became organized around the East Coast while I was a resident and an intern, and we did something called the Coptic Association of America.
Really?
And the one behind all this was a monk by the name of Father Makary Suriani. Father Makary Suriani came to United States 1954
Wow.
to attend the second central, or actually the second World Council of Churches meeting, which usually happens every 4 years. And it was in Evanston, Illinois. and with him was a priest, Father Salib Suriel, and a professor by the name of Professor Suriel Atiyah. These are big names, and if you study about the contemporary history of the church, you'll find that these are very important people.
Yeah.
Father Makari Suryani went to Princeton and was given a master's degree in 8 months, and he's talked about the role of education in the Coptic Orthodox Church for the children. During that time, he contacted many of the people that he found here in 1954. Were not too many, but he organized himself to know many of the heads of the churches throughout the United States and in the world. And when he returned to Egypt, he returned in 1955, decided to start sending youth and making grants and scholarship, getting them from various organizations to bring people to not only here but also to Europe and England.
Were you like one of those people around the grant?
I wasn't sent as a grant thing, but he suggested to me and to other people to go to United States. There is some exchange program where you get your training there, and after that you return back to Egypt so that we can think of a Coptic church missionary hospital that will act in a way that a true missionary hospital is, because we lack it in Egypt. And that was, we followed his order and we came. And of course, it's on your own. In other words, we did that as we liked, and not only that, but we were very excited about the idea.
Yeah.
Now, to make things short, I just want to tell you
No, we have time. It's
in
okay.
3-4 years after that, it became obvious that the project has to be delayed because of the dictatorial aspects of Egypt and the nationalization of even the Coptic institutions, including hospitals. So the idea was by Father Makari, who was our mentor, and he was really looking after all these things, to wait, and we don't know what God will use you for, because he thought that there's some immigration will happen from Egypt, and he needs servants in the United States and in Canada. So every one of us pursued his career, and sure enough, Pope Kyrillos VI ordained Father Makari Suryani as Bishop Samuel for general services and taking care of the youth in the foreign lands.
All of them?
Yes.
Wow.
So he's bishop, he's not the priest.
Oh, type, okay. Because usually when you hear bishop, it's usually for like one region, you know?
No. Bishop to look after, because he was the only guy that was looking after immigrants or people. Immigration was something unknown in earlier time for Egyptians. In 1963-64, there was a big wave of immigration of Copts to Canada, mainly to Montreal and to Toronto. United States was not open yet very well, so the immigration started in 1969 or so. And that's when United States started having big immigration. So the prediction of Bishop Samuel was correct, that the church will have an existence in North America, immigrants will come. All this was not known. He was almost like prophesying. And in the meantime, our future here was more assured as we go on. We, all of us, all of us means the servants that were sent, gained a great deal professionally and academically. And in 1963, late 63, early 64, I'm not sure about the date exactly, Bishop Samuel called me from Philadelphia. I was in Philadelphia in my last year of my residency. He called me and he said, I want to sit with you. So I went to New York. And he said, the reason I want to talk to you is that don't you think that we need a permanent priest for United States and Canada?
Yeah.
I said, of course.
Yeah.
So he asked me, what do you think about Wagd Ilyas, whom is another servant who is a very good friend and a very sincere guy. And also he finished his studies in Colorado and Connecticut, some theological studies, and he was teaching in the seminary in Cairo. I said, this will be the greatest guy because he knows the continent and he's young enough and he will, it will take a lot of abuse physically to do this job. He said, okay, I'm going to tell Pope Kyrillos. And sure enough, a few months later, Father Marcos came, and he was the first priest. He was residing in Toronto, and he just passed away to the heavenly glories about 2 months ago.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, sorry for your loss.
From 1964 until 2020.
Wow. That's...
That was the first priest. He was the only priest for all United States. So when I came to Chicago, 1972, he was the one that comes every month, every 2 months to make a liturgy. He would come Friday and maybe do Ashiya Friday and gets along with Bishop, make the Urban. And then on Saturday morning, we rent a church and he does the liturgy there and have all the people, and then we have a social thing, and then he leaves and goes to another town. When I was in Edmonton, Alberta, which is about 2,000 miles from Toronto, he came specifically to baptize my son John in my apartment.
Yeah. Wow.
And we had the sacrament of baptism, sacrament of Maroon, the sacrament of Eucharist, all done in our apartment. And of course, we also had the confession for the adults, and we have Eucharist. All that, and then right away, he travels back to Toronto to do something else. And so you could imagine things that now are at ease and everyone has. We 2,000 miles going and 2,000 miles returning in order to do this. So this was the condition when I came to Chicago.
Yeah.
Same thing. They need something. He comes and does this. He was the only guy. He stayed by himself for 3 years until 1967. And then they had another second priest in Montreal. And between them, they used to go all over the place. And then in 1969, there is something nice happened when immigration started a lot in the United States. You found that people from the East Coast, especially New Jersey, which used to be the Egyptian back alley.
Yeah.
They had in Jersey City started a church, and they brought a priest. And then in the West Coast, in Los Angeles, they brought another priest.
Yeah.
And the name now is familiar because everybody would know who he is, because he is very soon, within a week or two, will be will become a saint for this church.
Yeah.
I mean, this Coptic church.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
not this church,
Yeah.
but for the Coptic church, Abuna
Yeah.
Bishoy Kamil.
Oh,
Abuna Bishoy Kamil was brought by Pope Kyrillos to Los Angeles in 1969.
yeah.
And so that was a condition when I came to Chicago. There was a couple of priests in the East Coast, couple of priests in the West Coast, and there is a no man land in the middle.
Yeah.
And that was Chicago. Only a priest come temporary to do some Eucharistic thing, liturgy and essential thing, baptism, and leaves. You see? So I came in January 72, and I think the story, how I came,
Yeah.
is important, but you can delete it if you want.
No, we have time. No, go ahead. Yeah.
You see, what happened, Bishop Samuel was always making the rounds, travels from Egypt, looks into all these places that he made some Coptic society or association to study Bible, have a spiritual meeting. So in 1971, in the summer somewhere, there was a period of time between the departure of Pope Kyrillos, who departed in March of 71, and having Pope Shenouda come be throned in November. So this is the summer now,
Yeah.
and the the patriarch pro tem or temporary in the middle was Metropolitan Antonius of Suhag.
Okay.
So he asked Bishop Samuel to take him to United States to see what it is like in our with our Coptic people there. So he came with him, and this was in around the summer of 1971. He came to Chicago and was having dinner at one of my friends, Dr. Zahir Bukhtar. Dr. Zahir Bukhtar was a very important person in our church here, and he was the treasurer for a long time. And he was a friend of mine. When he was taking the dinner there, Bishop Samuel asked the doctor to call me in Canada. I was in Edmonton, Alberta, working for the University of Alberta. And he calls me and he said, someone who knows you wants to talk to you. Well, it was Bishop Samuel. And then he says, why are you in Edmonton? I said, well, that's where I work. And you have anything better? He said, well, try to come close because we have a very good group here and they want to have a church, but they need some encouragement and some building up. And it will be nice if you come to Chicago. I said, well, I really don't have a job in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I'm very well settled here in Edmonton, Alberta. He said, well, God will provide for you, but try to think about it. Well, believe it or not, 2 weeks later, I get a letter from the chairman of OBGYN at the University of Chicago saying, where are you? Why don't you come to University of Chicago? For it is in the middle of the academia. Why are you way there in the periphery? So, and from that point on, of course, we made interviews and all that, and came to the University of Chicago. Neither Bishop Samuel knows anything about University of Chicago, nor the University of Chicago knows anything about Bishop Samuel. But the connection is up there.
Oh,
see?
yeah.
The Lord is planning things. So I came here. I never applied.
Yeah.
Never applied to the University of Chicago. Never asked for a job. They recruited me right when Bishop Samuel wants me to come.
Yeah.
So when we came here, the first thing we did is have Sunday school every week.
Yeah.
Every week we do Sunday school. And every week when we have in Sunday school, we have the adults have a Bible study or some spiritual meeting. And we did that in a church that they were renting before we came for the liturgy when Father Marcus used to come. And that was in the north side of Chicago in Kenmore. It's still existing up till now. It's a very nice big church, but they used to give to us on Saturday. So every Saturday we have Sunday school, and Ferial started the Sunday school, helped a couple of the ladies to orient them what to do in Sunday school, and whoever children were not too many were with us, used to have Sunday school every Saturday, and we do the Bible study.
Was this the start of the family life meeting?
No,
sorry.
No, for them it was just a spiritual meeting.
Oh, okay. Best, but so then this is like the late 70s or by then?
This is 1972, my friend.
Oh, okay, early 70s. I'm sorry.
1972. And now Pope Shenouda is a new pope.
Right.
You see?
Yeah.
And he's just in his first year. So we finished 1 year with every week we having this, and Father Marcus would come every month or every 2 months to do the liturgy, and the whole 40 people or 50 people will aggregate and have communion and all this, but they used to come every week.
I see.
So now I go to Pope Shenouda in Egypt. And there was also another person from Detroit. His name was, he was a professor of engineering in Ann Arbor, and his name Dr. Naim Hinain. I know he's still alive, by the way.
Is he?
Yes.
Okay, we might interview him.
And we both landed in the office of Bishop Samuel, which was close to the office of His Holiness Pope Shenouda before they built the center. So we went from Bishop Samuel, we went to Pope Shenouda with Bishop Samuel, and he said, 2 people wanna talk to Your Holiness about having priests for their cities in the United States. So he looked at me, he said, I don't know where is Chicago and where is Detroit. He gave me a piece of paper, he said, would you draw a caricature of the continent of the United States and Canada and show me where is this cities? So I did so, all right, at Lake Michigan, put Chicago on the bottom of the lake, and Detroit at the east side of Michigan, and I said, here it is. So he asked the Detroit person to tell, he said, well, we have the capital of cars in the world, and we have 3-4 universities, and we have few students from Egypt, the Copts, as well as about 30 families. And we are ready now to have a church. Said, okay, well, talk to me from Chicago, what's happening there? I said, well, Chicago at that time was number 2 city in the United States. And that is not important. And has several universities. That's not that important. Because for a church, you need a congregation that is organized, that has meetings and meet every week. We do that. We meet every week for Sunday school and for spiritual meeting. And Father Marcos comes to us every month, every 2 months to have communion and do some sacraments. And in December, in his last time he came, when he knew that we are going to Egypt, we all suggested to give a contribution to the poor of Egypt. And I gave him an envelope and said, here is a contribution of the people of Chicago to the poor of Egypt. He looked at me, looked at Naim, and he said, Detroit, you wait. Chicago is ready. I will send you a priest. And that was a few months later. Father Marcos Shay came as the first priest in 1973.
Okay.
At the end of the, I forgot the exact date. You will find it somewhere.
Yeah. So then this led. So what was the big push then to start looking for
that
land,
was it.
To build the church?
That was it.
That was it.
And for your knowledge, Father Marcos Shay, his name was before Maurice Shay, and he was my Sunday school teacher in Beni Suef, Egypt.
Oh. Well, that's good. Yeah. So then, and then the rest is history. After that, that's when the congregation grew, and then we built the church, and now here we are today. We have 2 churches.
Well, you'll know the later history from other people, but you need to know that the first year of Father Marcos, we rented churches, the original church in Kenmore, North Chicago, and then we rented a church because they could accommodate us on Sunday, and that was in Oak Park. And then we said we have to buy a church, so we bought a Protestant church in Roselle, Illinois, and we converted the inside to fit a Coptic church. That was our very first church. And in 1977, Pope Shenouda did his first visit to the United States and Canada, and he visited us in May of 1977 in that church.
Wow. So then,
after that, we bought the land for this church here in San Mark, and we bought 5 acres, and it was $30,000 an acre, so it was $150,000.
Wow, it's not bad.
And we got it built by the grace of God, 1981, and we must mention here engineer. God bless his soul now, Faik Abutar. Faik Abutar devoted his time for free to build this church, contract with people and do things, and he built this church, San Mark Church, of course.
Yeah.
You ask me questions.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm just taking this. I'm one of the first. This is the first time I've really heard the full story. So I'm just.
This is not the full story. I will reserve this to some other people to say.
Yeah, but so now looking forward, because as you've seen over the years, you've had grandkids now that are like my age, and you're seeing generations grow, and you're seeing the church grow.
Not
right?
only your age.
Yeah.
The first group of people that we taught in Sunday school, their ages now are around 57 years or so.
Whoa.
Ra'fat Shenouda, Rami Shenouda, Fadi. Another guy, Basim Michael, is now the dean of the business school at the University of Illinois in Chicago.
Oh, really? Wow. So, but then looking forward, as we look at future generations, one of the things that I've seen in my own studies when we're talking about immigration, culture and stuff, is that over time, the culture is almost not forgotten, but like diminished and almost assimilated. So, looking forward, do you ever wonder or fear of that happening to us? And then, is it preventable? If so, but if not, then...
Well, the important thing in a church is the spirituality. A church is a place where people will gain the salvation of their souls. And so the first thing that a church has to do is to look for the salvation of the souls of its community or congregation, as well as telling others about Christ. That's the first thing. Now, of course, a church also has its traditions, and it's part of its history and part of its making, and it's very important because a lot of the spiritual things are tied to the traditions. So traditions will have to be not only kept but treasured, because especially in an Orthodox church. And I think the West needs our Eastern spirituality and Orthodoxy, and especially the Coptic Church, since its glories of the early fathers of the church and its contribution to Christianity is needed in this day and age in the West, where we call this post-Christian era. The church right now, church in general, the Christian church in the West, lost its centrality and became now on the side. It's no more the most important thing as it used to be, either in the Middle Ages or even at the time of the beginning of the Enlightenment age. So right now they need the return of spirituality and authentic Christianity like the Coptic Orthodox Church and Orthodox churches in general. However, if you get culture as an important thing which will hide these priorities, you got problems.
Yeah.
Because you're no more serving the Lord, you're serving a culture. Culture is nice and it's important, but you cannot put it anywhere near the importance of the goal of the church, which is the salvation of souls. Example, when I, as a new immigrant, long for special tunes or special habits that are being done around certain times in the year, which are not meaningful for the second and third generation. I cannot cling to them to the detriment of the young ones. They will love the culture, but that's not the most important. Most important is to worship God rationally. They will understand so that it comes to the mind and attached to the heart. Otherwise, we are serving tables, we are serving some unimportant culture. So don't misunderstand me. Culture, to me, actually, as an Egyptian, is very important. But my grandchildren will have an ethnic background as Egyptians, but they are Americans. And so we don't understand that this is important for future generation. And the thing that makes me say this with conviction is the vision of Bishop Samuel, which I still remember up to now. I remember in 1977, which to many was very early, when Pope Shenouda came here to Chicago, and he was a new pope. New pope means was only 4 years or 5 years as a pope. Bishop Samuel asked me and said, I want you during the liturgy to say Penishti in English. Yeah. I said, why? He said, because I want Pope Shenouda to hear it in English so he will see what the future will be like. We cannot cling to a language or to a habit or culture that doesn't translate into anything meaningful for the young people, to the detriment of the spirituality. Because the spirituality means I understand what I'm saying. Now, some people will think that what I'm saying is we forget all the... No, absolutely not. But in the importance, it cannot precede the spirituality. You see?
Yes.
And that goes also for the Coptic. The Coptic is extremely important. Why? Because the tunes are spiritual. Yeah. And the tunes go and rhyme with the Coptic language. So they're essential. But unless I know what exactly I am saying, it doesn't touch my heart. It becomes some emotional thing that really doesn't connect me that well unless I know what it means. And you can see it the minute people that understand what is said or say it with a language they know, they all go together, and you can enter the church and say this is a church that is worshiping God. Yeah. You see?
Yeah, I see.
We go into this confusion so much, and I'm just telling you the experience of 61 years in here. And it goes cycle after cycle, immigrant wave after an immigrant wave. We have to re-educate people that our grandchildren are Americans. They are not anymore Egyptians. They are Coptic, yes? And they will cherish the Coptic language. Do you know that our young generation here knows Coptic more than the Coptic people in Egypt?
Really?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't
The
know
Coptic kids in Egypt, they're not that well versed in all this. Our kids here know more. But put the priorities. Important thing is, you say the Coptic thing, you say another version in English, mix them up, say it again, so that people will understand what is being said. It's salvation of souls. And that's what I can tell you that happened in Chicago.
Yeah.
All this, the East Coast and the West Coast used to be speaking mainly in Arabic for so long.
Yes.
Here, we started translating so many things. And that's, I say, the contribution of Chicago. Of course, we don't say we translated it.
Yeah.
They take it and clean it up more, and now it's their contributions.
Yeah.
Either the West Coast or the South or all that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
No, but very valuable insight, actually. Well, that is all the time we have for today.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, no, but thank you,
I want to tell you something.
Yes.
You know, all the hymns of the Lent
Yes.
that you say during communion,
Yeah.
and it's well organized, well done, right.
Yeah.
The guy who came with me in the ship, his name is Ilham Khalil.
Oh,
He's in Los Angeles. He's the one that wrote all this.
really?
He and his 2 kids. Yes.
Wow.
And now it's all over the place, and nobody knows this. I know it because he did it.
Oh my God. Thank you, Dr. Atef. Thank you again
You're
for
welcome,
coming.
sir.
Yeah.
It's been nice having you guys.
It's been a pleasure having you. But before we go, I do need to thank some more people. So first of all, our music today was provided by your best friend Jippy. He makes a lot of music, a lot of background music, a lot of gaming music, study music. If you ever need music, go to him. He's dropping a new album March 31st, and it will be streaming everywhere. So wherever you get your music, Spotify, iTunes, wherever. Also, I want to thank our production manager, George Coldis, for providing us this equipment and providing us the location, as well as St. Mark's Coptic Orthodox Church for allowing us to film on this premise. Also, I also want to thank our social media manager, Miriam Shahat. She's been the one in charge of all of our social media posts. Everything from our Instagram stories to our Instagram posts to our Twitter, all that good stuff. Speaking of social media, if you want to follow us on social media, we are on everything, Twitter, Instagram, and we're working on a Facebook. So if you want to follow us, by all means do. If you also want to DM us with questions, whether it's questions for this show or interview questions, hopefully in the future we can have audience questions being sent in to us. And then we could ask, obviously, our interviewees what those questions are. So please feel free to follow us at Shay with Amos, at wherever you get your social media from, Instagram, Twitter, wherever. Also, these episodes, I didn't say this in the beginning, I probably should have said this in the beginning, but each episode will be posted by production guys, so he's freaking out. Each episode will be posted at the last Sunday of every month. It will be posted on the St. Mark Coptic Orthodox Church Chicago official YouTube channel and SoundCloud. They'll be posted around 7 p.m. So if that's where you're going to catch us. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe on both channels. And spread this around. If you're on SoundCloud, please repost this if you're listening to the audio-only version of this. If you're on YouTube, please share this. I want everyone to know about this, right? This is documentation of, immigration and of history. People need to know this. So please, spread the word. Otherwise, that's it. Thank you again, Dr. Atef, for coming on. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for everything you've done. Seriously. Thank you. And otherwise, that's it. So thank you guys. God bless and good night.
Good night.